It's a place that only few people can find on a map. Uummannaq is a tiny island in northwestern Greenland, 590 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. It is a home to approximately 1,300 people, 5,000 dogs, and the majestic heart-shaped Uummannaq mountain. In Kalaallisut, Uumma means just this, heart. So no surprise, Uummannaqers rightly believe that they live in the heart of the Arctic. Uummannaq is accessible only in the good weather, according to travel advisor. But the weather in the last few years has not been very good at all. Siku, sea ice, came late and left early. Sometimes it did not come at all. People could not travel and hunt like they used to for millennia. They could not visit their families living in settlements across the fjord. They became prisoners in the heart of the Arctic. 100 years ago, the loss of ice would have meant certain starvation. But now it means something else. Loss of sense, loss of belonging, and even loss of hope. Take a look at these dogs that have been tied up for 9 months. They're depressed. And depression is a contagious disease. It spreads fast and affects both animals and humans, since the border between them is permeable. Some very sad things have been happening here. Uummannaqers are reluctant to talk about this in the public, but the truth is that the suicide rate in Greenland has become the highest in the world, and most who take their lives are teenagers. In Uummannaq, every boy and every girl knows someone who has committed suicide. Usually they know many, and are even related to a few. Until recently, the beginning of the big melt and the arrival of the consumer civilization, Greenland's suicide rate was among the world's lowest. Teenagers kill themselves like whales that purposely beach themselves, says Per, an educator from Nuuk. Why? Because they think they are useless. But how can you stop the epidemic of collective suicides that overswept the country like a tsunami? Is there any way to make young people think that they are useful? Home to the heart-shaped mountain, the island is also a home to Uummannaq Polar Institute, which works to conserve Greenland's local culture and to promote educational programs for young Inuit people who are affected the most by climate and societal change. Anne Andreasen and Ole Jørgen Hamken, who head UPI, are creative, resourceful, and cool-minded Greenlanders who know that mindset and heart are the most difficult areas to navigate, akin walking on thin ice. What looks near is far. What looks placid is broken. Successful travel requires expertise, fine instruments, and definitely an ability to think outside of the box. At the foot of the heart-shaped mountain, Anne and Ole Jørgen have created a nest for the northernmost artistic colony in the world. They turned the barren rocks of this desolate island into the fertile soil for giving a boost to all kinds of creativity and imagination. This very soil enticed distinguished international artists and scientists to come to Uummannaq to work with Inuit children, leaving the lights of big stages and the comforts of everyday life behind. Visionaries and connectors, the leaders of Uummannaq Polar Institute quietly collect people from around the globe and bring out their best for the sake of the community. As a result, the concentration of the artists here per 1 square meter may be higher than in New York or Paris or Milano. Like many others before us, Uummannaq too was started due to the efforts of UPI's founders. At first, we did not know where our path would lead us. We just knew that we were going to make it happen, step by step, on thin ice. Ice was an essential concept for us from the very beginning. We knew that everything we do here will be happening on the sea ice. In the old days, everything happened on the sea ice. Food, clothing, legends, and moral values were coming from the sea ice. Songs were composed, and stories were told next to the seal's breathing holes. Sea ice was the center of a healthy living community. So, we were not creating anything new. We were just reinventing a tradition. In Kalaallisut, Uummannaq stands for Uummannaq music. But Nipi means so much more than just music. Nipi also means the sound of the speech, the cracking of the ice, the howling of a wolf, the barking of a seal, the sniffing of a snow fox, the growling of a bear, the breathing of the whale, the nightly chorus of the dogs, a thunderclap of a collapsing iceberg, a yelling of the dog driver, a cosmic silence of the dancing northern lights. In other words, it means all the music of the beautiful world around us, the world that we may be losing forever. Together with the local children and hunters, we get off the dog sleds onto the frozen waters of Uummannaq Fjord to make ai 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 ai. And what is ai 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 ai? It is not even a word. It's an ipi. Or you can probably say that it is a word without a meaning, an empty shell that one can fill with different feelings, happy ones or sad ones. One person can start singing ai 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 ai, and eventually it will always turn into a chorus, because Greenland is always about many, not just one. In Uummannaq we use whatever musical and non-musical materials available: wood, bone, skins, snow, water, and ice. And together we dance, sing, compose, tell stories, try to be hopeful, and survive the storms of uncertainty. Lera Auerbach, the world's famous American composer and performer, wrote a little song for Uummannaq that perhaps gives the best answer to what we are trying to do here. What is music? Was the name of the song. According to Lera, it is all the smiles, all the tears, all the hopes, all the dreams, all the questions, all the answers, all the beauty of this world. And it is definitely the best antidote against depression, apathy, and hopelessness. In years past, Uummannaq evolved into a cross-disciplinary project which combines music with the arts, theater, ballet, pantomime, and storytelling, with particular emphasis on creating and keeping old Inuit traditions alive. It also has become a truly multicultural and global center combining artists and cultures from Kyrgyzstan to Venezuela, regardless of linguistic, religious, or political differences. Having started as a Facebook fan page, it quickly grew into an established collaboration of international artists, musicians, conservatory and university professors on one side, and local communities of hunters and fishermen across Greenland, Alaska, Canada, and northern Siberia on the other. Actively using internet, new media technologies, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, and YouTube, Uummannaq was able to breach the island's geographical isolation and secure a steady connection between Uummannaq resident participants and their counterparts in the rest of the world. Through social networking, Uummannaq was able to bring world-renowned musicians to perform for and work with the children. Our first student production, Angel of Uummannaq Arctic Ballet, based on an old Greenlandic myth, was assisted by local hunters and professional contributors from 15 different countries. The idea to stage a dance on the ever-shifting and melting ice evolved from the regular activities of Uummannaq. Our young musicians from Uummannaq Children's Home were strongly enthusiastic about it. On the sea ice, they were totally in their element. The foot in a kamik is the root of the Inuit walk, and it is also the root of the dance. Dance in Greenland, like everything else here, comes not out of leisure, but out of harsh necessity. Dancing on ice is not an entertainment or a theatrical happening. People here dance in order to stay alive. They dance on ice to kill a seal, to catch a halibut, to drive the dogs, and to stay warm in a deadly frost, while the stage for their dance is a frozen ocean. The second project was Kyrgyz Ak Party, a month-long festival of Kyrgyz music, art, and culture, which made headlines in every single country of Central Asia. You may ask, where is Uummannaq and where is Kyrgyzstan? And we will say to that, quite far and yet very near. It turned out that Uummannaq and Kyrgyzstan are much closer than anyone may have thought. Thousands of years ago, ancestors of modern Greenlanders in Central Asia started their way north by crossing Siberia and the Bering Land Bridge. There are legends in Kyrgyz folklore talking about a great journey of one brave tribe going far north. But theories and legends, no matter how solid they are, don't always directly affect human relations. In our case, there was just one instant click. Ak Party in Greenland took place only a few weeks after the tragic events of the bloody uprising in Bishkek, which took a toll on many young Kyrgyz people, mainly teenagers. In the moment of great sadness, people were happy to make a connection with someone far away, who may even be a distant blood relative, and by a joy of a sudden connection, alleviate the deep wounds of the soul. The Kyrgyz instantly fell in love with Uummannaq children, dressed in the Kyrgyz kalpaks and brandishing the signature Kyrgyz whips. Building virtual bridges from Uummannaq to other parts of the world is another trait of Uummannaq. Successful experiment with Kyrgyzstan has been followed by the new ones with Germany, Venezuela, and Russia, specifically with such remote regions of northern Siberia as Yakutia and Chukotka. Ron Alvarez, from Venezuela's famous El Sistema, came to Uummannaq to teach children to play a violin. Few people in the West know that agyak, a violin, is nothing new to Greenlandic society. There used to be times when every other Greenlander played a violin. You can find old postcards from the 1920s depicting groups of people dressed in beautiful white anoraks, playing violins in Nuuk. In other words, our new violin program was again just a revival of an old tradition. Tough Uummannaq hunters too joined the violin program. Their participation was extremely important for our project. Hunters are the ultimate role models for the children, and when our youngsters saw them playing violin on the sea ice, they knew that it was something worthwhile doing. Guy Davis, a legendary blues musician from the US, and a Broadway star, came to teach Uummannaq children to play guitar, banjo, and harmonica. He taught music, dance, acting, and storytelling, but not only. He also taught the children to work in a group and to live in unison. He taught them about life and its core values. Needless to say, that in order to do all these things, one has to live with the children and share their everyday lives fully, from fishing and riding dogs to doing laundry and dishes in Uummannaq, in a house with no electricity, heat, running water, and no rooms. This is a place where you get to live in an old Inuit style, a communal one. And then came Hivshu, a man of the Inuit tribe, a distinguished Greenlandic drum singer, dancer, storyteller, and a shaman. A man who can easily turn a rock into a lemming, turn the half-melted iceberg into a concert hall, whose acoustics could be envied by Carnegie Hall. I don't want even to mention the view. Hivshu taught the children to drum, but he also taught them about ancient wisdom, about seeing in the darkness, and about all the wonderful things that once existed in our life and later disappeared. Inspired by Hivshu's stories about flights under the water, we tried out our new concept, the one of a mobile flying orchestra. There are mobile hospitals in Greenland, and we thought that it would be a good idea to try to follow their steps. As mobile surgeons, we too flew in all circumstances and to all places. During the hectic time of volcanic eruptions in Iceland, Uummannaq undertook a breathtaking tour of several towns and settlements, succeeding to play not only for the hunters and children, but also for pilots and passengers of Air Greenland. Performing on the turbulent floor of the propeller plane at the altitude of some 5,000 meters was similar to performing on the thin sea ice, but still there were some peculiarities. Hundreds of images, videos, and verbal accounts of Uummannaq going mobile immediately spread around Greenland via the internet, since passengers of Air Greenland willingly turned into our ardent correspondents by using their mobile phones. The culmination of our last season was the ice music fashion show on the sea ice of Uummannaq Fjord. This turned into a celebration of dog sledding culture and the growing collaboration between the once isolated community and the rest of the world. All the hunters, all the children, all the dogs, all the violins and pianos, all the drums, all the foreign dignitaries were out on the ice, exactly like it was in the old days when ice was solid. This was our white party in the empire of Uummannaq, in the heart of the Arctic. The ice music fashion show went on simultaneously on and under the ice. We thought it was fair because 90% of life in the Arctic happens under the ice, while some of us stamped our feet on the ice. Others floated under a sapphire iceberg, watching the dances from underneath to the sounds of violins, piano, drums, and ice piling on the pressure ridges. This was the moment when the old tales told by seal oil lamp suddenly came back to life. Would you like to know how many languages were being spoken during this show? We tried to count: Greenlandic, Danish, Faroese, French, Yoruba, German, Polish, Russian, Spanish, Swedish, English, Icelandic, and I'm not even sure if I counted them all. We were from all over, from all walks of life, from Iceland to Siberia. But in the humble light of Uummannaq, we were just people. We were Inuit, which means just that, people.